If you pack your bags and travel across Europe today, your wallet enjoys a rather quiet, almost boring luxury. From the beaches of Spain to the cafes of Paris, your pocket change looks exactly the same. You pay with the euro. It is sleek, unified, efficient, and thoroughly unadventurous. But if you stepped into a time machine and went back just a quarter of a century, crossing a European border didn't just mean trying and failing to speak the local language. It meant entering a completely different financial madhouse. Imagine planning a simple road trip through the continent in the 1990s. Before you'd even left the ferry, your glove box would become a literal graveyard of metallic confusion. You'd need a pouch of French francs just to buy a pastry in Calais. Drive a few hours east, and those francs were suddenly treated like chocolate money. You had to pull over, find a dodgy bureau de change, and exchange your cash for heavy German Deutschemarks. Head south, and suddenly you were calculating the price of a sandwich in thousands of Italian lire. You'd open your glove box and be confronted by a metallic ecosystem so wildly diverse and utterly useless, it looked less like a collection of legal tender and more like the contents of a magpie's stomach after a particularly heavy night out in Amsterdam. On January 1st, 2002, that entire world vanished overnight. In what was the largest monetary conversion in history, 12 nations willingly signed up to execute their own domestic coins. It may have been a serious workout for our trousers, but did we sacrifice distinct national art just so we didn't have to carry 3 wallets at once? Let's start our journey in Western Europe with a coin that millions of holidaymakers will remember wrestling with, the Spanish peseta. Spanish coins always felt rugged, deeply historical, and suspiciously like pirate treasure. The Spaniards loved a bit of traditional heraldry, the classic coat of arms, the pillars of Hercules, and bold lettering. It felt like it belonged in a sunken galleon rather than a modern vending machine that was about to reject it anyway. When the euro took over, Spain lost a world that had defined daily life for generations, and holidaymakers lost the joy of trying to tip a waiter in Madrid with a leftover coin from 5 holidays ago. Our next stops were an exercise in mathematical absurdity. Let's look toward Italy and Greece. Before 2002, Italy used the lira, a currency famous for making everyone feel like a multi-millionaire, right up until you tried to buy a cup of coffee and realized it cost 1,500 of them. The coins themselves were artistic, often featuring the goddess Minerva or the personification of Italia, looking quite stressed, probably trying to count her change. And then there was Greece and the drachma. To coin collectors, losing the drachma was a bit of a tragedy, because it wasn't just old, it was one of the oldest currency names in human history, dating back over 2,500 years. Modern Greek coins paid direct homage to this, featuring ancient warships and famous philosophers. When Greece accepted the euro, a direct link to the ancient world of Socrates was snapped in a single morning, purely because counting past 10 on a beach in Corfu gave everyone a headache. If the Mediterranean coins were defined by history and myth, the currencies of Northern Europe were an absolute clash of personalities. Look at these 2 giants side by side, the French franc and the German Deutschmark. The French franc is a masterclass in elegant, fluid art. For decades, French coins proudly featured the sower. It depicts a woman walking gracefully against the wind, sowing seeds into a field under a rising sun. It's artistic, very romantic, and very French. It didn't just feel like money, it felt like a miniature piece of culture you could accidentally drop down a drain. Now, look at the contrast when we move over to Germany. The German Deutschmark was the absolute economic anchor of Europe, and the coins did not muck about. German marks and pfennigs were not here to look pretty. They were symbols of absolute stability, precision, and heavy metal. Featuring bold, sharp oak twigs, clean industrial typography, and the federal eagle, these coins felt heavy enough to build a house with. The Deutschmark was a symbol of Germany's miraculous post-war recovery. Giving it up was an emotional farewell to the coin that had quite literally rebuilt the nation. We can't forget the neighbours either. The Austrian shilling, the Dutch guilder. Each one brought its own flavour. Austria featured stunning alpine flowers, while the Netherlands embraced ultra-modern, clean geometric designs that looked like they were designed by an architect who hated circles. You instantly knew exactly which country you were in just by reaching into your pocket and feeling the metal edges. Today, you just feel sad about the exchange rate. So how did this chaotic experiment end? With a very expensive countdown. On midnight of December 31st, 2001, Europe celebrated the New Year, while bank managers across the continent presumably had a collective panic attack. Over 14 billion brand new euro banknotes and 50 billion euro coins had been secretly minted and locked away in high-security vaults. On January 1st, 2002, the vaults opened, and billions of old coins became instantly useless. They couldn't be spent, and they couldn't be used. Suddenly, European currency had been downgraded to the status of a punctured blow-up doll the morning after a rugby tour. Utterly useless, deeply regrettable, and something you find yourself frantically trying to shove into the bottom of a wheelie bin before the postman walks past. They were gathered by the ton, loaded into armoured trucks and sent straight to industrial melting furnaces. Proud German eagles, elegant French sowers, the ancient Greek warships, all melted down into generic industrial blocks of raw metal. It was an economic miracle, certainly. It reduced trade friction and made holidaying much less confusing. But for anyone who appreciates art and identity, a massive, vibrant tapestry of European history was permanently flattened into a standardized grey uniform. Looking at these survivors today, if you had to pick just one as the true winner of European design, which would it be? Are you a fan of the elegant French franc, the unyielding heavy metal German mark, or the rugged pirate ship vibes of the Spanish peseta? Drop a comment below. We want to hear your verdict. And if you love uncovering the hidden history, the art, and the slight madness behind the world's most fascinating coins, do hit that subscribe button for Mintage Cloud. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you at the next minting.